today we might get on to introducing our guest speaker. We have Kerri Rodley with the beautiful ears on today. Kerri is actually a personal friend of mine, but she's fantastic at what she does. She has actually come out of tourism and hospitality, so she's one of our own. We can safely say she gets it, and she understands what's going on in the industry at the moment as well. Kerri's the founder of Workshops in Wellbeing, and her aim is to help people focus on their wellbeing so they have more time and energy to connect with themselves, their family, in their homes and in their communities. And she does this really well, Kerri. She's based in Port Stephens and she pops up absolutely everywhere. So she does lead by example. Having worked in the wellbeing and positive psychology industry since 2009, Kerri has a degree in applied science and a diploma in positive psychology and wellbeing, with a background as a professional organiser for over 10 years, specialising in hoarding cases. Does anyone remember that television show about the hoarders? You know how they send in the experts? This is the lady. This is the lady. Anyway, we warmly welcome Kerri to our morning tea this morning.
Thank you.
Virtual clap.
This is jazz hands. Apparently that's the hi. Firstly, I'd like to thank Heath and Beck for allowing me to come on and talk to you guys today. These are my cat ears, because my cat, who would normally come as soon as he hears I'm on a Zoom call, he would come in and walk across the screen with his little tail in the air and step on my keyboard. But I don't know if you can see, so I've got two 17-year-old cats and a 16-year-old dog. So I don't know if you can see them there, but they're sleeping because they're old. They're rescues as well, so they're asleep in the sun at the moment. So they said they'd love to come. Thank you for inviting them. So that's why I've got the ears. But just to introduce myself, like Beck, I am a mango. And so this is my first time doing a Zoom call, being the presenter. So normally I'd be up in front of the audience, you know, hands are flapping and walking up and down the room and getting people involved. So this is almost like playing that game, Taboo, where you've got your arms tied behind your back. So it's going to be a bit like that for me, but we'll, you know, see how I go. Hopefully it's all good. But yeah, as Beck said, just to give you a quick little intro of my background, actually like Heath, I've got a background in agriculture. So I started the first 10 years of my life as a person who worked for like CSIRO and the Walmart company and everything, working with sheep and sheep and wool. And then one day I thought, I'm sick of this business. I want to get into what I love doing, which is travel. So I went back to college and got a diploma in tourism, travel and tourism. Started my career working in the backpacking industry in Melbourne. Then my husband's in the army, so we tend to move around a bit. Was posted up to Townsville, so worked for Townsville Enterprise up there, working with Magnetic Island and the Great Barrier Reef. Then we were posted to the US. So I was working with Virginia Tourism over there and all the historic things about America, which is fantastic. And then when we were posted back to Australia, my career in tourism culminated with working at Canberra Tourism as the campaign manager. So I don't know if, you know, how hard destination on North Coast have in trying to sell themselves. I pretty much think, you know, everyone would love it up there. Imagine trying to sell Canberra as a tourism destination. It was hard. It was very challenging. It was fantastic, don't get me wrong, but it was more than, what was the catch cry? More than politicians, porno and pyrotechnics. So so it was like you know, overcoming those stereotypes of what Canberra was about before we could get, you know, people to come and visit. But I love my time in the tourism industry. I then got posted up to Brisbane, and that's when the global financial crisis hit. So jobs that I was going for, like, you know, the tourism, different things like the museum or Brisbane marketing, you know, normally you would get 100 people applying. There was over 1,000 people applying for these jobs. So that's when I thought, what else do I like to do? I like to organise. So that's a bit of my lime. I love to organise and be organised. So I then I went and trained and began my business as a professional organiser. And as Beck said, you know, working in that for a couple of years, because I have a family history of hoarding in my father and whatnot, I was getting asked to come and work with psychologists and social workers, helping hoarders in their house. So this would be people where they're going to lose their children or going to be losing their homes because of the enormous amount of clutter in the homes. And so then that led on to the sort of the speaking circuit and speaking at the Squalor and Hoarders Conference. Yes, there is such a thing. And just like Beck said, it really was like the TV show. It was really quite a stressful situation, and that got me interested in psychology. So that's when I also went and got my positive psychology diploma. And sort of now with my business, I can combine the two loves, you know, the professional organising as well as the many different topics like resilience and whatnot to do with positive psychology. So that's me in a nutshell. Now I've moved to Port Stephens with Beck, and absolutely love it here. So this is where hopefully we're going to stay. But I'll go now into my little share screen. Fingers crossed. Here we go into. There we are. You just go share. That's what. There we go.
We can see you.
Yay. All good? Thumbs
yes.
up? Yep, lovely. Okay, so going on to the presentation for today, simplify, declutter your home, declutter your life. So this is all about, now that we do have this time at home, it's about looking at what's happening in your home, and then when it is time to go back to the work and working in the office, strategies we can take from our time here in the home and taking them back to our office to help keep ourselves organised. So, on to the first, page up, page down, page up, page down, page up, page down. How do you do the, there we go. There we are, wait, there we go. Sorry, that was a heart-stopping moment, my buttons weren't working. So just going through a bit of the background of clutter, there's 3 consequences of having clutter and being disorganised in our lives, and that is finances, the amount of money we can lose just because we've lost things, we buy them again, buying bargains because we think, oh, it's a bargain, bring them home, and they clutter up the house when we didn't need it. Things like, you know, losing invoices, so then we've got late fees, we've got cancellation fees and things like that. Another consequence is time we've lost looking for things, like always looking for the car keys, trying to find pieces of particular paperwork, missing appointments or events because we didn't write them down, we weren't organised, we didn't have it in our diary or in our different systems. And even just things like getting out the door in the morning, getting to work when we used to do that, getting the kids off to school, having that time that we're just continuously overwhelmed because we just don't have that organisation. And the other thing, the third consequence is productivity. So clutter, you may know, having clutter in your immediate area also clutters your brain. It weighs you down, it muddles your thinking, and it pretty much causes you stress, which we do not need in this time and place. So they're the 3 consequences. It's the finances, the time, and the productivity. There we go. So sorry that I'm going to put this song in your head. Let it go. Basically, I'm looking at the obstacles to letting go of clutter in your life. So hopefully that song won't stay in there for too long because I'll move on. Okay, overwhelm. Overwhelm is a big one for most people because they just go, where do I start? I don't know where to start. So it's just too overwhelming. So I'm not even going to, begin at all. And the thing is to remember, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So if you just start small, start with like your undie drawer, start with your toiletry compartment, just start with a drawer in the kitchen or something like that, and a little bit at a time, and you'll find it won't be so overwhelming. It was a gift. You love a face. When someone gives you something and you just go, oh, I love it, and you really don't like it at all, but you have that thing, well, I've got to keep it because so and so gave it to me. What if they come over and it's not there? My sister-in-law is a good one for this. She loves to give me all sorts of trinkets and things that I have absolutely no need for. One recent one was because I volunteer for Port Stephens Koalas. So one she gave me was this lovely purse, and it had this big, chunky, furry koala stuck to it. It was like the most hideous thing. but the meaning behind it was nice. So she was thinking of me, thinking, oh, you like koalas, I'll give you this. So you thank the person and then you donate it to someone else who would, you know, love a koala purse, but don't have that sort of, you know, oh, you know, that person gave it to me. It's about letting go of those emotions. Here we go, the guilt. So this is about buying things that are hideously expensive, and we think, well, we can't get rid of that because, you know, it cost me so much money. I, in fact, have a jacket like this, not as hideous. I bought it when I was at college, and, you know, at college we don't have any money. We're working little part-time jobs, and I splashed out and I bought this jacket for $400. Guess how many times I've worn this jacket? Like, not. Except for the times every time I give this presentation, you know, and I'm live, I actually put the jacket on and go, hey. But apart from that, I've never worn this jacket, and that was $400 worth. And I keep that jacket not just as a prop for my presentations, but as, you know, as a reminder of going, you know, why did I fork out that money? But the thing is, the money's not coming back. If you don't wear the item, someone else will love it, so you can let go of that guilt and pass it on. It's already happened. There's no reason for carrying that guilt around with us. It was inherited. So this is a big one. If you have parents who have passed away or grandparents who have passed away, and you've inherited things like this lovely silver set, which I have of my mum's, or your grandmother's china, or that sort of thing. So when you look at it, you think, oh, you're thinking of that person who used to own it when they used to use it. So you have that emotional attachment to it. But chances are you don't like the thing yourself. It could be the most hideous set of crockery you've ever seen, but you have that, again, that guilt that I must keep it because it was grandma's. Rather than honouring grandma's memory and passing it on to someone who will love that item, who will use that item, you're not honouring their memory if it's hidden away in a cupboard gathering dust. So it's about letting go of that emotion, thanking them, and then, you know, you can take a photo of it or do whatever, but it's about not cluttering up your house with other people's items. I will need it when. So this is when we're not living in the present. This is when we're living in the past or thinking about the future. So the example of these pants, you know, I will need it when I get fat again. These are my fat pants. I'll need it when I put on weight, or vice versa. You have your skinny clothes. I'll need it when, you know, I'm going to lose weight. I'll need it then. Rather than thinking, I'm going to look after who I am now and honour the size I am now or my life now. It could be, you know, you're keeping hold of your corporate suits when you don't work in that business anymore, or you're keeping hold of different items that remind you of the past. It's about being in the present. So honouring who you are now, not thinking of what's going to happen in the future, not remembering, oh, remember when I was skinny and working in corporate and my life, you know, working in stilettos, and now, you know, you're sitting at home in your pajamas and your Ugg boots going, well, this is who I am now. It's about honouring that and, you know, not thinking about the future or the past. It may come in handy one day. So this is more of a male cause of clutter. So men tend to, I don't know if it's a hunter-gatherer thing in them, they tend to hold on to things. So with my husband, it's bits of timber. Our garage is full of little bits of timber for just in case it'll come in handy, you know, making stuff. Cable tie or these sorts of cables here, that's another one because, oh, you know, what if we move into another house where we're going to have 20 speakers everywhere when we need all this speaker wire? Or, you know, all these different tools in the garage that, oh, but, you know, they'll come in handy for when I do some woodworking, which is never going to happen. So it may come in handy is more the male one. They tend to, like I said, sort of collect things for one day. The emotional connection is more for the female. So we as females, we tend to have emotions stored in items. So here's a good example of children's toys. So the child might have grown out of the toy. The child might have said to, hey, mum, I'm prepared to let it go. But the mum has memories of when that child was playing with the toy. So when they pick up this particular teddy or whatever it is, they'll go, oh, I remember when little Bobby used to play with this, and oh, it brings back such lovely memories. And then then that's why we tend to keep hold of these sorts of things. And another one is children's artwork, you know, when they bring things home from school and they did a fantastic job, you know, doing these sorts of things. It might just be a piece of rubbish that the child itself goes, no, mum, you can let it go. But we do tend to have these emotional connections. So it's about, you know, you can take a photo of the item and then pass it on. It's about, you can still have those emotions, but not keep the item that's cluttering up the home. Okay, so we're moving on now. So we've gone through the obstacles to letting go, and we're moving on to the process of letting go. So before you begin, you have to ask yourself, why am I in this situation? Is it one of the reasons before? Is it because you're too busy and you don't have time to declutter and let go of things? Is it because your partner might be the collector of items, or the family? The family is just normally a messy family, and so you have other people in your household. Is it that you're a shopaholic and you love to go and find a bargain and bring them all home and have them in the house never to be seen again? Is it because someone has died and you've inherited half the house load of things? So once you know why you're in a situation, then you can start moving forward, because if you don't deal with that that reason, well, then it's going to happen again. So if you don't, you know, go, okay, honestly, I'm a shopaholic, I need to stop bringing home the bargains, it's going to happen again and again and again. So even if you declutter, it's still going to come back into the house. So the reason has to be dealt with. Okay, you have to want this. So the person's home it is, or the people living in the house, it has to be their decision to do the decluttering and the letting go of items. Anything that belongs to someone else, don't touch it, that's their own decision. So you can only declutter things that you own yourself. So an example could be, you know, when I went to declutter my husband's, our garage for my little video series, I had to let him do that because I didn't own anything in the garage. They were his items. So it was up to him to let them go. But another thing, when I was, I had a client who rang me and said, oh, you know, if it's Christmas time, I'm going to buy my daughter-in-law you as a gift. I'm going, oh, that's fantastic. What a great idea. I bet she's really pleased. Oh, no, it's a surprise. She doesn't know. She's just really messy, and I think it's time that she started organising her home. So you can imagine how that would have gone down. It would have been like someone saying, hey, Jenny Craig, here's a subscription for you. I think you need to lose a bit of weight. So the person whose home it is, it has to be their decision. So I said to that client, you know, if you tell daughter-in-law that, you know, you're going to buy me as a gift, what does she think? And she's all for it, then we'll go ahead. And luckily she did. But can you imagine the, you know, absolute horror of being given me as a gift? Anyway. So moving on to putting it all together. So before you start decluttering, you have to create a plan. And this is about your timelines. You have to have, you know, the consequences or the rewards of what's going to happen. So it could be you've got family coming to stay at Christmas. So I have to declutter the guest room and have it all set up. So that's a reward, because that means people can come and stay. It could be that you know, if you don't declutter the kitchen, the dining room table, then the family can't come around to have dinner with us because there's so much clutter, there's nowhere to sit. So a consequence is people can't come to have dinner, they'll be sitting on trays watching the TV. It's about having timelines for, you know, I'm going to have this particular room done by a particular day, because that helps you with the motivation. It also helps you to have a bit of a plan as to, you know, I'm going to start with the bathroom, now I'm going to work my way through, rather than going, I'm going to do the whole house this weekend, because we know that's going to be totally overwhelming. So just having a bit of a timeline set up with your priorities, and having your rewards or your consequences if you don't go about it the right way. So do we have any questions or comments as yet as to sort of the behind the scenes? Anyone? Bueller? No?
I think the important thing here is to mention that a lot of us are at home. So we are finding that, you know, that excuse of we don't have any time, we've never got time to do the declutter at home, is, for some of us, it can't be an excuse any longer.
That's
so
right. That's
you know,
right.
it's either do or die time, I think.
That's right. And that's the thing. I mean, when I've been doing it myself, so you think as a professional organizer, my home would be totally, uncluttered and organized. Not at all. Yesterday I went through, all the things like the warranties and all those booklets that come with all the things around the house. That took me a while. I found all my old iPhones and iPods and all the crap that went with that I had in a box in a cupboard. You don't want to throw out the phone because, I might need that one day. My new phone breaks and then I'll need the other phone, or someone can. So all these things, we all have it. It doesn't matter how organized you are. You can find somewhere in your home that needs a bit of help. So, and don't mention the garage with my husband because
No. we have a challenge, which is that we move rubble from one place to another.
Oh. Yes, but Heath, you're a farmer. You're allowed to do that.
No, but that's a problem for us as well, because I think we end up just I think we think we're getting organised, so we'll take all those electronics and we'll put them all together in a box and shift them somewhere else, and then discover them again, a year later.
That's right. And it doesn't matter where the clutter is, it's still clutter. So from a feng shui point of view, because I used to do feng shui as well, it's the energy of the clutter. It doesn't matter if it's behind a closed door or it's hidden away, it's still clutter and it's still cluttering up the energy. And the fact is your brain still knows it's there. Your brain knows in that cupboard, oh my God, it's just full of cables and things. So it's all about releasing the stress from the brain as well. And you'd be amazed at how you feel after decluttering, like I said, even just your undie drawer or some small area in the house, how much lighter you feel. You just go, it's just like a weight off my shoulders. So give it a go just for a little bit, and then you'll find you get more motivated as you go because you love that feeling. So be prepared. This is the actual process part now. Be prepared. It's going to get messier than it was because you're going to have to bring everything out of those areas. You're going to have to sort it. You're going to have to work out where it's going to go, and then it has to go to where it's got to go. So to get started, you need to have an allocated space where you can go and put things. So clear away space, have it there ready to go. To be prepared, have all your equipment ready. So that's your garbage bags, your sorting tubs, which I'm going to go through in a minute, and have a plan for where is it all going to go. Is it going to go to a charity like the Red Cross? Are you going to have a garage sale? Are you going to sell it on eBay? Buy, swap, sell? Wherever it's going to go, you need a plan of attack beforehand, so then it just doesn't end up in your garage going, oh, well, I'll have a garage sale one day, or one day I'll go back to the charity shop. With the things I'm decluttering at the moment, and I've got a client that I'm helping her in her home at the moment, all I'm doing is putting it out on the front verge and saying free, help yourself, free knickknacks, free things, and everything's going like that. So I haven't had to take it to the charity shops or whatever, because everyone's out walking their dog, to get their exercise. And they're walking past and picking up all the different bits and pieces. So it can be as simple as just popping it out on your front lawn.
Kerri, you're like a dentist giving lollies to children. New
That's right. My teeth are all right. I don't care about yours. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Okay. And I'll make sure that the stuff I do put out, it's not junk. It'd be things that I would buy from a recycling centre or a charity shop. So, when it's a photo frame, it actually has the glass in it. It's a nice frame, something that I myself would, like to have. If it's something that needs to be plugged in, it actually works. It's not like a broken item. CDs, books, DVDs, all of that stuff. Someone will love it, even though your taste has changed. So yeah, just make sure that it's something that you would buy yourself and not just rubbish. This process part now, this is sort of the nitty gritty. This is the Marie Kondo part. This is the sparking joy. For those of you who've watched Marie Kondo, I know Beck hasn't, but she will after this, I'm sure. So what the number one rule is, you only touch an item once. So you pick it up, say that the photo frame, you pick it up and you answer 3 questions. Do I love it? Do I need it? Is it useful? And if you can't answer yes to any one of those questions, then out it goes. So, this picture frame, do I love it? Well, yes, I do, because it's got the pictures of my pets in it. Is it useful? Well, it's a picture frame, so yes, it is useful. Do I need it? Well, I don't really need it because I've got 3,000 frames around the house, but because I've answered yes to one of the questions, it can stay. So you handle the item once and you put it into its particular tub, which I will show you now. Here are the tubs. So you have these ready to go before you start your decluttering. The idea is don't get sidetracked and leave the room where you're decluttering and go, oh, I'll just go and put this sock away in the drawer, or, oh, what's that shiny thing over there, or whatever. The whole idea is to keep motivated, keep focused, and you will find that you'll get through it so much quicker. And by having your equipment here ready to go, your tubs, you don't have to leave the room. So the keep tub is for just items that are going to be returning to that space. The donate, obviously, they are things that are worthy of some money, so you can donate them. The throw tub is for things that are not worth money, they're broken, no one's going to pay money for them, whatever, so they can go. And the relocate tub is for things that are going to be kept but not in that space. So you might be decluttering the kitchen and you found, you know, a box of tools that should be in the garage. So they go into the relocate tub, and at the end you would take that relocate tub around the house to deliver the items of where they're going to go. And you have these nice big tubs with nice big openings. I mean, you can get these for $2 from the $2 shop. They just make it easier to be throwing things into and to be sorting as you go. And it's putting, you know, sorting all your bits and bobs in together. Once everything is cleared out of the area and everything's put into its tubs, give everything a good clean, because again, you're thinking about how the clutter is affecting your brain. So once you've the area is clear, you've given it a nice wipe down, you've got rid of the dust bunnies, it's almost like, oh, that energy is just back into the space again. So that way, when you're returning the things back into the space, it's all clean and you know it's clean. It's not just popping things back where they're all dusty and yucky underneath, because that's going to affect the way you think. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Is the process so far, or all good? Lovely. Oh, I can see little things. All right, moving on. So before you put the items back into the space, you have to look at your organising style. So, you know, if you were organising your home office per se, which is a very big one, and you thought, you know, all my files and things, I'm just going to shove them back into a filing cabinet. That might not be how your brain works. So you have to work out what your organising style is before you can put the items back into the space. So we're going to be going through a few of them here. Insight. So insight is an organising style where you have to have things on show, otherwise you're going to forget about it. So you will find you'll have things on shelves rather than in cupboards behind closed doors. You will have, such as this office here, you need to have all your files out that you're working on, because as soon as you file them away into a folder or into a filing cabinet, you forget what you're working on and your brain is like, oh, quick, what, you know, I forget, and then, oh, maybe I've got nothing to do after all, and you forget to follow up. So it's about having things inside that you can see, and then knowing what you're working on. So the next one is out of sight. So this is for people who, for them, the clutter causes stress. So they have to have clean lines on everything. Everything must be off the countertops, as you can see in the photo. Everything must be behind cupboard doors. There can't be sort of any things on shelves that they can see. Nothing on the kitchen table, as you can see there as well. So it's all about that minimalistic look and having everything totally put away. So they're organising style for their appointments would also be the fact that they would have everything on a computer, like on a computer diary. They wouldn't have big wall planners on the wall, such as the Insight people would be. They wouldn't have, you know, diaries on their desks and paperwork. It would all be lovely in their little Palm Pilot or whatever it is that they use to organise. So very minimalistic. On the opposite to that, it's in here somewhere, and no doubt we all know someone who has an organising style such as this. And don't be don't be alarmed. This actually is an organising style. So you will find that people whose offices look like this are very creative people. They have all their projects going everywhere. If you were to walk in there and say, hey, Bob, where's your tax return from 1975? They'd be able to just go straight in there and pull it out. They know exactly where everything is. And the worst thing you can do for someone like this would be to go in there and tidy it up and put things away, because then their whole world will just explode. I actually had a hoarding client, obviously, who, you know, their whole house looked like this, but I had to be very, very careful about what I touched, because even though it looked like it was a total mess, it was his way of thinking. It was a way he knew where everything was. So just by touching one thing, it was going to send his world into a spin. So we had to be really careful. So it is an organising style. So don't be too upset if your kids are like this, because you might find that they're just going to be very creative children. So just allow it to happen, and shut the door if it really annoys you. And the last one is everything in its place. So no doubt you all know someone like this in your office. You might find that these are the people that love a labeler. They'll get the labeler out. They'll put the labeler on everything. They'll have the label on their stapler. So if, you know, Bob comes along and takes Betty's stapler, she's like, oh, Bob, I want that back, please, and put it in its little spot. Pantries like this, they have everything in their perfectly organised plastic containers that you can see, but all the time, whenever you use anything, it must go back into its spot. Otherwise, again, this type of organizer, they go, oh, my scissors aren't in the spot, I've lost the scissors, and it really freaks them out. So every time it's used, it must go back home. In fact, this is a great way of organising things in an office space where many people are using the different items, like the stationery and cupboard and whatnot. But the idea is it's got a home, put it back. Oh, and these sorts of people love lists as well. So they love a list, they love a to-do list, they love to tick it off. So I'm in that category as well. Storage options. Doesn't everybody love a Howard Storage World or one of these sorts of shops? So many, you know, entertaining things we can all play with. But before you buy storage, you have to remember your organising style. And before you go out and buy any storage, declutter first. I had a client where, in her excitement with me coming around to help declutter, she went out and bought all these tubs and things like that. And then when we got to her home, when we decluttered all the stuff, there was nothing left to put in these tubs. And she had all these tubs that she bought, and now they were just going to be wasted. She had to take them back, I think, because she, you know, bought before she was ready. But remembering your organising style. So if you like to be able to see things, you would have see-through storage. If you don't like things being seen and you like things tucked away, then you would make it more of the solid storage behind the closed doors. And again, the people that love everything in its place, they will go for the pretty storage because you want it to look fantastic on your shelves. So every professional organizer used to love a shop like this, because it was like our little, you know, paradise where we could go and grab all sorts of different things. But always make sure you know your organizing style before you go and spend the money on your storage. Oh, and the other tip is have a look around the house to see what you've already got. There's no reason why you have to go out and spend money. Just see what you've already got before you spend money, and you know you might already have all sorts of pretty baskets and things around the house. So, okay, this one's very important. So when you've decluttered, it's really hard work. I mean, when I work with a client in their home, normally a minimum of 2 hours, a maximum of 4 hours for me to go into a home. I say to anybody else, start with just 5 minutes, see how you go, and you'll find the motivation. You usually get motivated and go, okay, I want to keep on going, and you'll keep on going. 4 hours is enough. Your brain cannot cope with it because you're making so many decisions. So 4 hours is the absolute max at a time. And then reward yourself for the job well done. Go and have a lovely bath, have a cup of tea, have a glass of wine, you know, if you need to, not to go out and buy anything, but maybe, you know, go and have a facial or something like that. Your brain needs the rewards for going through all the hard work. And because you're rewarding, your brain goes, oh, that wasn't so bad after all. I think I might do that again because I know I'm going to be rewarded at the the end. The other thing is to plan your next session. So yeah, you've done the hard work, but pop it in your diary for the next time you're going to do it. So it might have been 10 minutes today. I'm going to do 10 minutes again tomorrow. It might be I've done 4 hours on Monday. I'm going to wait until next Monday to do another 4 hours. Get support from your family and friends. Be accountable. Tell everyone you're doing it, going, hey, I'm decluttering the garage, and share it on Facebook or do whatever. You'd be amazed if everyone going, oh, look at you, aren't you good? I'm going to do the same thing, or you go girl, or here's some tips that I've learned. If you're accountable, it just makes it so much easier. These days, we can't have the friends and family come over to help out, but they can be doing it virtually. They can be watching along on Zoom while you do it. So you never know. And the last tip is do a little bit every day. If you can just do 5 minutes every day and get into that habit, you will find it makes it so much easier to continue. So Beck sent you a handout before the meeting. So I don't know if anyone had any questions or anything about all the tips and tools or sort of any of the ideas if you've got on there. But I'll be following up with an email to you all afterwards just to say, hey, do you have any more questions? So if you've got any questions about the presentation today or the tips and tools handout, please let me know and I can give you some ideas. And also just to let you know of what I'm going through on Facebook at the moment. It's called the free 30-day Corona Clutter Challenge. I saw this as a great opportunity while everyone's at home. They can follow along. I do a little video every day of different areas around the house where I've been decluttering and organising. And that way, the 30 days, there's 30 little areas around your home. It could be things like, you know, photos on your computer like I did this morning, or it could be cleaning out the kitchen pantry through to the 2-part series on the garage, because that took so long to do. But if you were to just go onto Facebook and type in Corona Clutter Challenge, you can sign up to join me. You can get a copy of my free ebook. You can just follow along each day or just go back to the beginning and go through all the different ones. But that's just a little bit of fun for while you're in your self-isolation, and you can get your home clutter-free and organised. But that's me. These are all the ways you can find me online, my website, my Facebook page, my Insta, where I'm putting up all the, and YouTube, where I'm putting up the videos as well. So you can find the videos in a few different spots for the Corona Clutter Challenge. But that was it. It was the fastest presentation I've ever done in my life.
It was great, Kerri. Thank you.
Fantastic.
You're welcome.
I'd like to open the floor, though. That's fabulous. I know that, like I said before, we've got all this extra time on our hands, and whilst some of us have got very, very nice, neat and organised offices, the home maybe sometimes doesn't translate. So we've got all this time at home now to be able to put some of those things that you mentioned into practice.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions, and we might open it to the floor, but just obviously you've got your own unique style in your own home and you can do whatever you like. But when we do get back into offices, any tips and suggestions on how you can manage those different styles? You might have somebody who's really OCD, and you might have someone else who, I pray to God that my children never end up like that you were saying about the person who works in mess. If that happens, we're going to have a massive problem in this house. But what do you do if you've actually got those, you know, you've got same team, different personalities in your team? Any thoughts around that?
So it's exactly as Lynn said with the mangoes, the bananas, the limes and everything. You have to understand everyone's own organising style. So when it comes to the things like the stationery cupboard, obviously that's going to be properly organised, because that's how, you know, whoever's looking after stationery, they would have it as a sort of a normal system where you can find things. When it comes to files on computers and where things are kept in filing cabinets, the most important thing you've got to realise in an office is if you were to be hit by a bus, you need someone back in the office to be able to find what you're working on so things can continue on in your absence. So the way you've got your files in your filing cabinet should also reflect the way you've got your files set up on your computer. And if you've got some weird, you know, radar from MASH way of not radar, it was Klinger, I think, of organising, you know, the files, you need to share with somebody the process that you go through, because otherwise, like I said, if you're sick and things are urgent, need to be done, someone needs to be able to understand your filing system. I know back when I was working for Canberra Tourism, it was government, so we had to have a particular system that we all had to become a part of. So we actually had to go on a course and learn how to do this filing system, and everybody had to file everything in that particular way. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for everybody, and it used to do a lot of people's head in. But you just have to compromise, I guess, for the main sorts of files. But anything to do with your own desk, if you know that that person is Mr. Creative, they could be in the, you know, the graphic designer or the website designer or whatever. Usually the website people, desks are really, really messy. You just have to understand, don't get, you know, crazy about it. You have to understand that that's their organising style. Don't go in there and start tidying up, you know, if he's off sick and, oh, I'll just help Bob, you know, tidy up his desk while he's not here, because that could be the worst thing you can do. If it is, you know, Betty and she's OCD about everything in its place and she's got her name on her stapler, make sure you help Betty by, you know, taking the stapler back. I'm just going to borrow your stapler, Betty, and write it in the book. Stapler taken by Kerri and returned by this date. So just be aware of everybody else's organising style and fit in with that, because you can't change anybody. This is the way that they are. This is the way their brain works. You can't change a creative person into a organised one for, you know, minimalistic, because it just won't work. So just recognise that everyone in your office is different, and just work in with them, but just make sure the things that are, you know, the files that everyone needs to get a hold of or whatever, everybody knows how to do that, so nothing's lost. Oh, and the kitchen should always be kept clean too, and the fridge.